Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Meet the Candidates event for New York Senate District 44. All candidates were invited and are present. This event was organized by the League of Women Voters of Saratoga County and with the League of Women Voters of Schenectady County. My name is Kathy Coburn. I am a member of the League of the Women Voters of Saratoga County, and I will be your moderator today. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan volunteer political organization dedicated to the informed and responsible participation of citizens in government. The League never supports or opposes any political party or candidate. That has been League policy since 1920. Membership is open to anyone who is eligible to register and vote, whether they are male or female or however they identify. Please consider joining your local league. Before we start, I want to remind the candidates and our audience that the video taken tonight is the property of the League and can only be used by the League or licensed media according to FCC regulations. This event will be posted in its entirety. It may not be used by the candidates except to post a link to the complete video. We do not make this request lightly. We have had recent experiences where candidates or their supporters have used portions of our video or an audience member's own video against their opponent. As the League is a nonpartisan organization, use of a video by one candidate specifically against another candidate is in contradiction of our purpose. Additionally, this behavior would discredit us with candidates, making it difficult for us to sponsor future forums. All candidates participating in this forum have pledged that they will abide by our policy. Questions were sent to us by members of the community. League members reviewed and compiled them to be representative and to avoid redundancy. We rejected questions of a personal nature. We received over 20 questions and will not have time to answer all of them in the time allotted. So we've done our best to pick the ones that we'll try our hardest to do as many as we can in the time allotted. Candidates, this is your opportunity to let voters know your stance on these topics and how you will address the serious issues facing the people you represent. Please don't waste valuable time tearing down or labeling your opponent. Deal with the facts in your closing statements. Absolutely no zingers. Don't put your opponent on the spot with no chance to reply. We have timers for this evening's event. Cards will be held up for the candidates to glance at. Green means white means 1 minute left. Yellow means 30 seconds left. And red means that your time is up. The candidates in alphabetical order by last name are Michelle Ostrelich, running on the Democrat and Working Family Party line, and Senator James Tedisco, running on the Republican and Conservative Party line. Now it is time to hear their 2-minute opening statement. They have drawn lots to determine the order. The first to speak is Michelle Ostrelich.
Thank you and good evening. I'd like to first thank the League of Women Voters for hosting tonight's forum, for Senator Tedisco for joining us, and to the residents of the new the Senate District 44, the City of Schenectady, Town of Niskayuna, and all of Saratoga County for giving out your questions this evening. The whole reason I moved to the Capital Region 17 years ago was to be close to my parents who'd retired to Saratoga Springs. My husband and I have raised our 2 daughters in Niskayuna, so Schenectady County has been our home and Saratoga County has been our second home. We found here a warm, welcoming community, incredible beauty of the beautiful upstate, arts, entertainment, great schools, friends, and family who care deeply about our community. While raising our girls, I spent years helping to lead local nonprofits. And more recently, I've had the honor and privilege of serving on the Schenectady County Legislature. Public service has been a very meaningful way to tackle bigger issues. At the heart of every election is about quality of life. It's about whether our families have what they need to take care of the ones that they love. But this year, on top of that, are serious concerns about preserving our rights. In light of recent Supreme Court decisions, the extreme right agenda is a very real danger. You know, I've talked to a lot of people Democrats, unaffiliated, and Republicans. We've knocked on thousands of doors. I've held meet and greets in every city, town, and village in this district. The top issue that folks are worried about is preserving choice in New York State, with serious concerns about the state of our democracy. And my opponent and I couldn't be further apart on these issues. I look forward to hearing your questions tonight to talk about protecting our rights, strengthening our local economy, making investments in our health and safety, and shielding us from the worldwide rising costs as we continue to recover from the effects of the pandemic. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Tedisco.
Hello, everyone. I want to thank the League for sponsoring this forum and thank Michelle for her interest in public service. Most of all, I want to thank you, the voters, who have given me the greatest endorsement I could ever have, the honor of serving you as your senator. As a state senator, I'm proud to be known as a staunch defender and fighter for my constituents and their needs. Whether it's taking on Governor Cuomo or Hochul, writing the bill to repeal catch and release bail reform to give judges discretion, figuring out control of inflation by doubling star property tax relief for families and seniors, capping and suspending the state gas tax, seeking justice for 15,000 of our most vulnerable population who died in nursing homes, passing a new law to enable park rangers and police to carry life-saving EpiPens, or passing Buster's Law to protect our pets and people. I believe I've proven my ability to get things done against overwhelming odds. Right now, all levers of power in New York are under one total domination by one affiliation from one region of the state, pushing a radical, pro-criminal tax and spend agenda that's led to 319,000 New Yorkers walking out of the state of New York last year, #1 in out-migration of all 50 states. We can't let this beautiful Empire State become the empty state. Unfortunately, under the present agenda by one-party rule, the only business that seems to be doing well is U-Haul. I love New York is our state slogan, but for too many, it has to become I leave New York. That's got to change. A great indicator of my success as your elected representative is the fact that I've been reelected over and over again by overwhelming margins by the most important part of our representative democracy, you, the voters. On Tuesday, November 8th, I'd be honored again to have your support.
Thank you. Okay, now it is time for questions. Candidates have up to 1.5 minutes to respond to questions. You are not required to respond. You may pass if you wish. You have 2 opportunities during the question and answer session to request an additional 1 minute to either add to your response or to respond to something another candidate has said. Just hold up your hand and say extra minute, and I will acknowledge your request. The timers and I will keep track of the number of extra minutes used. Questions will be alternately directed to candidates so that each one gets a chance to respond first. And Michelle, you're going to get to have the first question. What will you do to support and bolster the local economy? How will you help small businesses?
Thank you. That's a very important question. First, we need to be careful not to burden our struggling families, right? So I'm proud of my record at the county legislature, a history of 0% property tax increase, a cap on our gas tax, and this year giving a tax rebate for property owners. Second, we need to fight the causes of inflation. Higher prices are not simply because of supply chain or staffing issues. Companies are making record profits, and we need to expose and fight price gouging. But really what we need to do is raise wages by attracting better paying jobs and careers. The biggest difference between my opponent and I is that where Jim sees negatives, I see opportunities for growth. Our state budget, which he voted against, made historic investments in workforce development, pipelines for direct care jobs, building and construction trades, teaching and childcare. And we're receiving an incredible infusion of federal dollars that will flow through Albany, and we need folks who are at the table to make sure that I want to be at the table and make sure that those dollars get here to work on building up those pipelines right here in the new 44th. I often have heard Jim Tedisco refer to the Empire State as the empty state, but this district is growing. People here are moving here actually because of the great quality of life. And that's what will protect us against the rising tide of costs. Thank you.
Jim,
Yeah, for the last 9 months, I've actually been campaigning longer than I've ever campaigned before, ringing doorbells. And that's because of the totally unconstitutional redistricting decided by the upper level courts right now. Total disenfranchise of upstate New York. I mentioned we have one voice from one political affiliation from one region of the state. If you look at this year's budget, it's a part of the reason why 319,000 people left the state of New York last year, #1 in outmigration. We're one of 7 states that lost another representative because of that loss during the census. And it showed the underbelly. We're #4 now in population. Florida is ahead of us, and we're #1 in tax freedom day. That's the day when we actually take $1 home from working and pay all our taxes. That's into May. When enough individuals leave the state that can afford to leave the state, and there's the middle class and lower income, who's going to pay for a $220,000 spending and taxing plan? The largest spending and taxing plan in the history of New York State, and borrowing plan. Again, the point is here, we have opportunities to change things, to turn it around. And the way to do that is to continue the property tax cap, which I authored and expanded. I've got a bill called Prop 2. And what that would do in the past is take all of the, as you know, bills off the floor of the New York State Senate and Assembly, saved us $13 million, kept forest lands up, and kept ink-filled paper out of landfills. I also have a bill called 2-Star. The one thing I hear from people, property taxes are too high, very high. This bill would change that. It would double the property tax exemption for both and do one other thing. Allow seniors not to pay their taxes when they reach a certain age. We have to incentivize people to stay here.
your extra minute?
I haven't seen any,
You didn't
oh,
see?
what's happening is the lettering is going across
Oh, I'm
the
sorry.
signs.
Yeah. If you want to use an extra minute, you can right now.
No, I think I'm good. I think I've made the point about taxing and spending and borrowing too much.
Okay. This next question is going to go to you first, Jim. Listen carefully. Would you support legislation that would prevent a hospital, including those that receive taxpayer dollars, from imposing religious beliefs that undermine patient reproductive health care? For example, withholding standard emergency miscarriage care, family planning services, or facts about a patient's medical options?
Well, you know, the case that's before us right now about this policy, there's a lot of misinformation. It's a very serious, it's a very sensitive issue. It's a very complex issue. I bet if I put 2 pro-choice people together, 2 pro-life people together, ask them 5 questions, they point at each other and say, you're not really pro-choice. You're not really pro-life. The Supreme Court did not ban abortions. What they did is they looked at the Constitution, something I always carry with me. And they decided there's no direction in that Constitution on this policy. So they did a significant thing that others Supreme Courts have done. They decided to give the most important part of our representative democracy the opportunity to elect their officials, senators, assemblymen, and governors, and let them decide the important decisions, make them decide the important discussions, make them debate, and then vote on the policy for every state. Nothing that the federal government is going to change what's taking place right now. I'm not going to tell women what kind of decisions to make. I'm not going to make decisions about hospitals and impact their religious decisions, because every religion has their own type of direction that they take right now. But I'll tell you one thing, the policy in this state, when we have 319,000 people leaving the state, is a bit egregious when the governor unilaterally, without transparency, puts millions of dollars in a pool and says, we're going to attract, they call it tourism abortion, bring people in, pay for this procedure, and have them walk away and leave. How about working on keeping people in New York State with incentives?
Okay. The question is, would you support legislation that would prevent a hospital, including those that receive taxpayer dollars, from imposing religious beliefs that undermine patient reproductive health care? For example, withholding standard emergency miscarriage care, family planning services, or facts about a patient's medical option. Michelle.
Thank you, Kathy. I am the only pro-choice candidate on the ballot in this race, in line with the vast majority of voters in this district and in this state. The question goes to the merger that's happening right now in our community between Ellis and St. Peter's, a local Trinity Health affiliate. The religious restrictions that come along with Catholic healthcare systems are one of the many ways that our right to choose is being encroached upon. Mr. Tedisco gets it quite wrong when he says that federal law won't affect state law. In fact, a federal preemption, the ban that is now being proposed by Lindsey Graham, would do just that. Do not believe anyone that tells you that Roe v. Wade was settled law. It was settled law until it wasn't. We need to make sure the bottom line that in New York State, abortion must remain safe, legal, and accessible always. And yes, I will support a law that requires transparency in hospitals so they tell us as consumers what's available there or not. And I will support making sure that our hospitals, every hospital that serves the public, has emergency medical care. Abortion care is healthcare. It's an issue of bodily autonomy, and it is nothing less than equal rights under the law. And I will support that law. Thank you very much, Kathy.
Okay, thank you. This question is going to go to you first, Michelle. New York passed nation-leading climate legislation, which included legally enforceable deadlines to ensure 100% greenhouse gas reductions by 2050. What is your role as state senator to meet our climate goals in transition as we transition away from fossil fuels? I guess that if you become state senator, to meet our climate goals and transition as we transition away from fossil fuels.
So I have a friend whose children are in their 20s and 30s. Her children have already announced that they're not going to have children of their own because they can't imagine bringing another generation into a world that's on fire. We have kicked this can so far down the road. What that says to me is they've lost hope that we're going to take real action to address climate change, an existential threat to life, right? So I will do everything that we can to reach those goals and transition our economy to a greener economy. I would like to make sure to say the Environmental Bond Act is on the ballot this year. And so our past bond acts have been very important. They've created our New York park system and conserved land. They've reduced pollution for clean air and water, and they've cleaned up toxic dumps like Love Canal. It is so important. We are overdue for this bond act. So please flip the ballot over and join me in voting for the Environmental Bond Act, because we can't afford to not make this investment for our children's future. Thank you.
Okay, Senator Tedisco.
The irony here is our environment is extremely important. Our infrastructure interacts with that. I have a program which I've actually given the bill called SWAP, Safe Water Action Plan, to take care of our sub-level water. And we have to protect our water and we have to protect our air. Right now we have a CHIPS program, Consolidated Highway Infrastructure Program. Municipalities love it. They get a group of money. It's by formula. What the problem is, we're putting down beautiful roads and bridges. We're trying to protect the sub-level. It's dropping and falling down, and we're paying twice as much because some of these toxic pipes, which are spewing, as we saw in Amsterdam, pollution right into the Mohawk, are 100 years of age. SWAP would look at the sub-level by formula. There would be two formulas, the sister SWAP, and there would be the CHIPS program. So when we put down a road in a bridge, it doesn't collapse because of the weight of the sub-level, which is deteriorating. You can't cut a ribbon on a sub-level, but it's protecting our water. In terms of what has been said, I agree. We should have been paying all along. It's late overdue. And the leadership by that one voice from one political affiliation from one region of the state has refused to pay to go along. I agree with the Gazette's editorial that people pay enough in taxes. We should be bringing our economy, our training programs, our jobs along, not a 150-page wish list of goals. And Michelle called it out. These are goals. You've got to have a plan. You can't say the answer to this, we're going to appoint a commission and they're going to fix it all. We have $22 billion for the next 4 years. We don't need 4.2 billion more to borrow.
Thank you. This goes to you, Jim.
Okay.
Access to high-speed internet is more critical than ever. What plans do you have to help the areas in New York that lack it?
Well, let me tell you the areas in New York that lack it: the 49th Senatorial District and the 44th Senatorial District. And who were the individuals who promised by about 5 to 10 years ago? Our previous governor, which I believe Michelle endorsed, and he endorsed her, and been kind of silent on those actions that he took of the March 28th executive order, which lost all those 15,000 lives. But they promised that we'd have an infrastructure plan where we'd have website and cell service. Right now, in some of my districts, in the 49th Senatorial District, in rural districts in Schenectady County, this is no exaggeration almost, you actually need homing pigeons or smoke signals to get an emergency vehicle if there's a fire that takes place, if there's a break-in in your home. So we have to actually put our efforts and our money where our mouth is. And that hasn't taken place. There's been promises to get this done over and over by the majorities, by the previous governor, by this governor, Governor Hochul, and we have to take them to task. Again, that's a part of the agenda that's suggesting to people, if I can't make a phone call and get an emergency fire department or an emergency law enforcement, I'm going to leave the state of New York. I get pensioners calling me every day. When I get my pension, I'll be leaving. When my child graduates from college, I'll be leaving. We want to keep them in New York State. We want to incentivize them. We've got to get this broadband finished. Can't make promises. You've got to put the dollars into it to make it happen.
Okay, thank you. I do want to remind the candidates that we are not talking about the other candidates. We want to hear your answers to the issues that are facing this district and our state. And I really would prefer that to continue happening and stop personal attacks and bringing up other people who aren't running in this race right now. The question is to you, Michelle. Do you want me to repeat it?
No, I've got it. Thank you so much,
Okay.
Kathy. So high-speed internet should be treated like our infrastructure, but it's an essential infrastructure. It is important to grow our small business. Going back to that question that was asked before, it's impossible to have a business in today's economy that doesn't have an active website, frankly. It's also really important for education. We've seen through the pandemic that students in rural areas that didn't have access to remote schooling fell further behind. So it is essential. There was a program that did work hard towards expanding high-speed internet. What I've been told is that it faced state-made barriers and higher costs. So what we need to do is revisit the program. Again, we're getting dollars from the federal government to New York State through the infrastructure bill. And I want to fight hard to get those dollars to this district. That's what we need. We need to use those dollars to revisit that program and make sure that we eliminate any barriers or extra costs and finish the job. And I'll do that.
Okay, thank you. Now this question is going to go to you first, Michelle. Politics have become highly polarized to the detriment of our society and our democracy. How will you combat radicalism and misinformation?
I've done that on the county legislature. So we caucus with conservatives and we work across the aisle towards good governance. There are so many ways to reach an agreement about issues that matter when it comes to making sure our families have what they need to take care of the ones that they love, right? That's what it's all about. So I've also experienced just on the campaign trail that folks, no matter what their affiliation is, want to have meaningful conversations. We want to connect. One of the problems, of course, is that we're getting our news from very polarized sources. So it would be making sure as a community leader, I'm always speaking about even-sided issues, right? Talking about the truth, supporting science and proven facts before grandstanding or politicizing an issue that maybe shouldn't be used for points or fear mongering. I'm about getting real work done, and that means often working across the aisle. And our district, from when I've talked with a lot of people, they don't like the extremes on either side. So it's about making sure that we always recognize each other's humanity, start there, and assume that we all want what's best for our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, same question to you, Jim.
Well, it starts with respect for everybody and respecting their position, listening to their position, not interrupting them when they speak. You don't have to agree with everybody, but where I work, you have to work with everybody. And I do that. I have a record of not only standing up and fighting on behalf for my constituents when their quality of life is being attacked, but crossing party lines to get things done. Let me give you some examples. This cash bail thing, which is a revolving door of danger and disaster. They've dumbed down muggings, attacks, carjacking, all these types of information where people walk right now. We need discretion. 49 other states do that. I have a bill to provide reasonable discretion. Today, you might have seen in the paper, chief of police in Schenectady has said 28% increase in crime in New York, in the city over the last 3 years, 13% of violent crime. Cash bail, Angelo Santa Barbara has, Ron Kim and Angelo Santa Barbara, I think, sponsored that bill with me. The Como investigation, when 15,000 of our most vulnerable population were lost. I have the investigation for an outside, independent, bipartisan, subpoena-powered group. Ron Kim and I sponsored that. So I've been able to cross party lines. I have the SWAP program, which I gave to Senator Hinchy, who is now the head of environmental committee, so she could help me get the bill passed because she is in the majority now. I passed that bill when we were in the majority. So it's working hand in hand, fighting when you have to, crossing party lines when you want to get things done.
Thank you. Okay. This next question is going to go to you first, Jim. In New York State, there's a widespread shortage of quality, affordable childcare, as well as care for the elderly and disabled. What can you do to help meet these needs?
Well, childcare is extremely important for the reason that we have to move our economy along. When the pandemic came along, it shut down businesses. It had individuals who were working who had childcare go home. The one good thing is they were home with their families. The one bad thing is now those same businesses they were working for are fighting for their lives to survive, to stay in existence. So this is a double-edged sword. On the one hand, we have to expand the amount of grants and assistance and the income levels for women and men because we've seen the worst inflation in 40 years. You put a bag of groceries, and what's my constituents talk to me about? When they put that bag of groceries on the marketplace, they're paying for what they used to get 2 bags of groceries for. When they go to fill up their car, it's twice as much, a gallon of gasoline. So they're very concerned about that. We have to provide grants for training, and we have to provide grants for these individuals who lost their business, their daycare businesses. They have to be safe in those daycare businesses, and they have to have the wherewithal to come back. Myself and my staff worked overtime to fill out the paperwork to get the federal grants from the CARES program and Emperor program to provide grants for individuals who lost their businesses. Some of it made it through that. So we have a dual obligation here. You can't do all that in 1 year. We expanded some assistance to those daycare families which need daycare. But again, we were woefully late over the years, passed the largest budgets in the history of New York State, but never had some of the priority and important issues. That is one of the priority and important issues to put people back to work and keep families in New York State.
Thank you. All right. Do you want me to repeat the question, Michelle?
No, I'm okay. Thank you, Kathy. So this past budget, like I mentioned, Jim Tedisco voted against it, but it made historic investments in workforce development, including daycare providers. Additionally, it expanded eligibility for families for childcare assistance and for the reasons which they can apply for assistance. It's not just for working. Now it is including job training and education. So these are really big changes. And I'm thrilled that our county is part of a pilot instituting an easier way to apply for those benefits, but also an easier certification for the providers, which is really important. So look, finding daycare right now, especially post-pandemic or wraparound care for school-age children, I've heard it compared to the Hunger Games. It is incredibly hard to find spots out there. The cost is high, right? But people who work in the industry don't get paid enough. So I'm thrilled that this budget expands eligibility, encourages new daycares to open up and new providers to get certified, but there are still gaps that we need to address. We also need to better fund universal pre-K, and in Shenandoah and the school district for Clifton Park and Half Moon, they don't even have full day kindergarten. So I want to get to Albany and fight for what our families need to help raise their children. Thank you.
Okay, this question is going to come to you, Michelle. What can we do to guarantee affordable housing for groups such as workforce, seniors, and special needs? Would you speak to issues regarding housing in Saratoga Springs specifically?
Wow, we need it all. We need the full continuum of housing, both in Saratoga and Schenectady counties. I want to work on the funding for both, including involving CDTA to make sure that any housing that's built, especially transitional and supportive housing, is on public transportation so people can get to their jobs or to any services that they may need. Our state administers programs that fund very complex programs, both loans and tax breaks for larger development. That requires, and what I want to do when I get to the state Senate is have a staff member devoted to shepherding those buckets of money so that they can layer all of the different funding opportunities to create more housing. I want to get more funding to our agencies that can build out their supportive, transitional, and shelters. And then, of course, we've got small folks who like to rehab our houses. There are pockets in both Saratoga and Schenectady counties that has aging housing stock. Let's support our land banks to clear out zombie properties. Let's support our rehabbers with buying consortiums so that they can take advantage of decreased cost of materials, give them administrative support and financial incentives so that they can build safer housing without displacing our families that were born and raised here. Ultimately, we need to find ways to fast track housing options along the continuum. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay. Senator Tedisco.
Yeah, we've talked about, and we've seen the largest inflation in over 40 years. What we get from senior citizens when we go door to door is their energy costs are going through the roof, 40%. They talk about the fact that their taxes are almost more than their mortgage was. And they're telling me, I could afford to pay this over 30 years. Senator, I'm not sure I can afford to pay my taxes right now. And they say this to me. This is the number one thing I get a call from. I'm 75, I'm 80, I'm 85. Do taxes have to be eternal? And they really shouldn't be eternal. When you're on a pension that's not growing like inflation, when you're on a fixed income, when you're fighting to put food on your table. Right now, like 1,100 of our St. Clair's pensioners who had the rug pulled out from under them. And I tell them, no, if we pass my 2-star program to double the basic exemption, to double the enhanced exemption, it does one other thing, which is the number one thing the citizens call me and seniors call me about. And that is, can you eliminate taxes for us at a certain income level like the enhanced when we reach a certain age? This bill would do that. They're also very concerned, inflation and everything, goods and services, about what's called EPIC, first of all, elderly pharmaceutical insurance coverage, which provides assistance. We enhance that. But there's another program that's important that I've developed in a piece of legislation, and I'm hoping my colleagues will support it. It's called EDIC, Elderly Dental Insurance Coverage. Have you seen your dental plans yet? Have you been to the dentist yet? If you're a senior, my mom was 97 years of age. She got very sick because she wouldn't go to a dentist for the cost. So the EPIC program for pharmaceuticals, very costly, and the EDIC program. I'm good.
Okay. All right.
I can't see those signs because of the lettering there, so.
Oh, you can't see the signs?
No, there's lettering in front of it. Michelle, can you see them?
Yeah, it's a big folder with the words in marker.
There's no letters in front of,
Hold up the sign again, Cheryl, please.
yeah, I've got all lettering in front of the sign.
Is
It
it
says-
green?
It says live transmission, closed captioning has been enabled. Who can see this transaction record? It's in front of the
Click the
sign.
X and it should go away.
Click which?
There's an
Okay.
X on that banner. Click the X and it should go away.
And now there's lettering on the bottom of it. Is there another X?
Is that
What
her
is
name?
it? Is that her name?
No, it says it's whatever I'm saying is going in front of the sign down below it.
Hmm.
Another X, is that your name? Got hurt? Yeah, that's okay.
So now you can see the 30 seconds. Can you see the stop sign? Hold up the stop sign, Cheryl.
I gotta hold it up a little higher because there's still some lettering going across it. Every time I speak, there's lettering going across that. But that's okay. Go ahead.
I'm sorry that's happening because it's really, I feel bad when you don't see that your time is up, but I need to keep, to the schedule.
When I'm speaking, there's lettering going across. Is Michelle's have speak lettering going across?
So,
No, sorry.
speak that. Monica, can you help with that? Can the host help us with that?
He must have turned on the closed captioning, which is optional.
No,
So
I didn't touch anything.
You you can either hide the subtitle, or you can click on Cheryl's box and try to move her over so that you can see it and she's not blocked by the text.
Let's see, click on.
You can click and drag her to a different spot.
Not you, her.
Something happened here. Geez. Yeah, that's okay. I'll just read between the lines. Go ahead.
Okay, sorry. All right. So let me
No
see.
problem.
You just answered that one for a second, right? Okay, so you're going to get this question, Jim. What is your position on the New York Health Act, which guarantees health care? If you do not support it, what measures, if any, would you implement to make health care accessible to everyone?
Yeah, we had the highest, as I mentioned, taxing, spending, and borrowing plan in the history of New York this time around. 9%, $8 billion. We're getting very close, and the comptroller says a lot of backdoor borrowing in this budget, very close to our constitutional cap on spending. This particular bill to take care of about 4.3% of the population, 95.3 or 4% of all New Yorkers have health insurance right now. So what we need to do is take care of this smaller portion of individuals, and they deserve that health care. Vermont tried to go to this. They went for it for 3 or 4 months. It was destroying their budget. They turned it back and they went back to their regular programs for health care. California, the most progressive state maybe in the nation, wouldn't even try it right now. We also have the concern about a loss of jobs. I got the AFL-CIO endorsement. I got labor endorsement. But that's not the important part. The important part is these individuals negotiate their contracts. They give up benefits for home leave, for home care for their family members. They give up salary benefits. It affects their safety negotiations. I don't want to see that happening. This is a $220 billion tax increase. That will mean our budget will now be close to 500 billion. It's impossible. It won't be 319,000 people who leave the state of New York. It will be 600,000 people who leave the state of New York. So it's something we can solve, but we have to have a program cut out for those small portion of people who don't have it. It's not $220 billion.
Thank you. Thank you. Excellent. You saw the sign that time?
I got it. Yeah,
Yeah, perfect. Okay.
smaller
Mich-
letters.
Michelle?
Oh, sorry. We should all be very concerned about the state of our healthcare right now. So anyone who's ever had to navigate an insurance claim, a health crisis, or can't find a practitioner with the specialty that they need, especially mental health care providers, has seen too many holes, too many frustrations, costs are high, and there are staff shortages that are seriously a problem. Our healthcare system is broken. What we need is universal healthcare. I support the New York Health Act. Let's work on it. Let's make sure that we can put it directly to the people for a vote. Let's put a bond out. That means we absorb the upfront costs. When we know all projections, we will make it back and more because we'll have a thriving economy. The worst time of years for especially small business owners is pouring through all of the different plans. There's no transparency. Even if you have health insurance, costs are still exorbitant and it is still frustrating. So I'm facing, I'm part of a coalition. I founded a coalition that's dealing with a merger at our local hospital. We're facing cuts in services because of that merger. And it's all because of how we fund our hospitals and healthcare systems. It wouldn't be happening. What we need is for our hospitals to stop chasing dollars and start chasing better health outcomes and community health needs. With the New York Health Act, we could plan for regional health councils and make sure that we have primary care and specialists in a region with transportation to get there. Everyone should be able to get to the doctor if they need.
Thank you. Okay, this question is going to go to you first, Michelle. What is your position on abortion? Do you believe a woman has a right to choose and have control over their own personal health decisions and support that with a state? And would you support that with a state constitutional amendment?
Yes, like I've mentioned before, I'm the only pro-choice candidate on the ballot in this race. And like I said before, I'm in the vast majority of voters in this district and in our state. My opponent has voted against choice every opportunity he could. He voted against the Reproductive Health Act. He voted against protecting our providers from out-of-state interference and prosecution. He voted against insurance discrimination. And yes, he voted against the Equality Amendment, which would enshrine Roe in our Constitution. What that means is we would pass it again. I hope that would be my first act as a new state senator, is to vote for the Equality Amendment. And then hopefully in 2024, it would go directly to the voters. By going to the voters, it is New York's values that will be enshrined in our Constitution. New York will have spoken. This is a pro-choice state. Like I said, the bottom line is in New York State, abortion needs to remain safe, legal, and accessible always. We've heard such horror stories coming out of states that have instituted bans. People even denied medicine because an off-label use may harm a fetus. In the hypothetical, people denied, medicine for chronic care. Physicians that are scared to treat a miscarriage because they might be prosecuted, and children, victims of an assault, who weren't able to get the care they needed in their state, not in New York.
Thank you. Jim?
Now, we know now the Supreme Court has looked at this issue. It's not in the Constitution. As I mentioned earlier, they decided the most important people in our representative democracy would make those decisions. Elect the elected officials that discuss it, debate it, and vote on it. That's not going to change in New York State. But unfortunately, what's also not going to change is the most egregious policy in the history of any state in the nation of the 50 states. And let me tell you the three things that concern me about what's been talked about here about supporting this codified Reproductive Health Act. Number one, it's abortion on demand. Up to the very day the child is viable, the mother is very healthy. We have abortion not 15 weeks, not 20 weeks, not 25 weeks, not 30 weeks, up to the day before birth. 65 to 70% of the people, pro-choice, pro-life, say there's got to be some point where there's another discussion. Secondly, they've eliminated, which we've always agreed upon to protect the mother when this is legal, a licensed physician to do abortion in New York State. That's unconscionable. Here's the most egregious things. There's no protection for a wanted baby in the womb that is murdered. We saw this after they codified it in New York City. A boyfriend tried to kill his girlfriend. The DA put assault against her, but they killed the child in the womb. He put a penalty of killing a child in the womb, murdering a wanted child in the womb. Pro-life mother, pro-choice mother is going to want that child treated the same way, whether it's born or not, as she is being treated. He came back in a week and said, I have to rescind that. There is no penalty now in existence in the penal code to protect a wanted child in the womb from murder. That's egregious.
Kathy, can I use my 1 minute?
Yes, you may.
Thank you very much. The senator awfully misconstrues the law. What he's talking about is commonly referred to by Republicans talking points as late-term abortions. That is not the case. Abortion care is available if a pregnancy is putting a mother's life or health at risk. And what we're talking about here are very much wanted pregnancies. Folks have probably picked out names and decorated their nurseries, but they've gotten terrible news where the mother's health is at risk, her life is at risk to carrying that pregnancy full term. That is necessary medical care. The last person that should be involved in that discussion is Senator Jim Tedisco.
Yeah, I'll take my 1 minute now too.
Yes. Ladies,
I noticed Michelle didn't mention what I was talking about. A viable child, a healthy mother, not the situation she's talking about. In New York State, she can't give me a date or a day. When the child is viable and the mother is healthy.
It's
15 weeks,
24 weeks.
24? No, it's not. You're making that up and she's interrupting me. I never interrupted her.
we won't do that again.
Yeah, I hope not. So she's misspeaking here. Secondly, she mentioned nothing about removing a licensed physician to care for a mother. Both pro-life and pro-choice individuals realize that we want to protect a mother when it's legal and it's official in any state right now. To eliminate that is a tragedy. To say you're not going to have a licensed physician take care of this process to protect the mother is atrocious. And the last thing she had mentioned, a wanted child in the womb, murdered when a woman is attacked. I don't care if she believes in pro-life or pro-choice. She's going to want that baby protected in the same way she's protected. That doesn't exist right now. And that's egregious. Should be ashamed of themselves.
Thank you. We're not going to interrupt each other, and we're not going to do personal attacks. This is a hot button issue, I understand. Now, would anyone want to use another red card now, or would you like to keep on going with the question?
I'm good.
Okay, Senator Jim, this one is going to go.
Yes.
What is your position on bail reform? What do you think should be done to address its challenges?
Well, clearly, I believe I have the answer to that, and many of my colleagues have the answer to that. And look, at this Tuesday, you're going to see the illustration of what the people think about this so-called criminal justice reform. It's a revolving door of danger and disaster. It has dumbed down serious violent crimes and called them not violent. Mugging, carjacking, robberies, burglaries. They get tickets and they walk. Now, you can see it's not only Republicans, so-called, which they try to point to us. It's Mr. Carney, the Democratic DA, who spoke out this week about individuals running and costing taxpayers money and the violence that's portrayed. It's Mr. Soros, the DA, very progressive, liberal individual, saying, repeal it, take my bill, go back, bring the professionals in and give discretion to judges. The new mayor of New York City, Mayor Adams, has stood up and said, we're a joke now. The violence is overcoming us. As I said, the Chief Clifford today, 28% increase in crime, 13% increase in violent crime. I have the bill, bipartisan, to give our judges real discretion to decide if an individual is a danger to themselves and others. 49 other states do that. Look at People aren't quarantining because of the COVID virus anymore to a great extent. They're quarantining because of the criminal element and the dangers to come out into the streets, to walk at night, to go get the lunch, to go to a restaurant. They're concerned for their lives, and rightfully so. We have to change it. We have to go back, and we have to correct it.
Thank you. Michelle?
Thank you. Public safety must be our high priority. Every parent in every neighborhood should be able to let their kids play outside or take their bike to school. And I've worked on that as a county legislator, many measures to tackle public safety concerns. Jim Tedisco's voting record shows that he would make us less safe. He voted against criminalizing ghost guns, untraceable weapons that would make carnage in our neighborhoods and put our first responders at higher risk. He's voted against taking guns out of the hands of domestic abusers, and that we know a presence of a gun in a domestic violence situation increases the risk of homicide by 500%. I am so sick and tired of Jim Tedisco blaming all of our crime, and yes, our increase in violent crime, most recently, an uptick in that, on bail reform. It is old-fashioned fear-mongering. Judges do have discretion to set bail or other conditions upon release, like GPS monitoring or check-ins. And what this ends up doing is folks who can pay bail get out, and they are certainly able to commit crimes again. What Jim Tedisco wants is just to keep poor people in jail without having any trial, so they have not yet been proven guilty. That's un-American. We need to also make sure that DAs are charging people with the right crimes and attending preliminary hearings and fighting for bail if appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, 1 minute.
All right, you get
Yeah.
your 1 minute.
Yeah, it must be Michelle when she's discussing with me. She's discussing with the Democratic Progressive, Mr. Carney, Democrat Soros, the mayor of New York City, law enforcement, Sheriff Apple, Democrat from Albany, Sheriff D'Agostino, Democrat conservative from Schenectady. These individuals, bipartisan across the board, know this is failing. Look, anything that you try 3 times, even Aaron Judge, when he strikes out 3 times, has to correct his batting procedure. They're not correcting it at all. They're just doing window dressing. And let me tell you something, in parts of rural 49th Senatorial District, 44th Senatorial District, there are places where there is no infrastructure. Yes, there is no cell phone usage. Those individuals deserve to be able to have guns one way or another because they're law-abiding citizens to protect their families. That's what the Second Amendment is all about. And if they can't protect their families and get on the phone and get somebody to protect them, then they're in very much deep trouble. That's why it's important not to pass holistic bills, which only let the criminals, because they don't obey the law, but take it away from law-abiding citizens. So she couldn't be more wrong.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, it is 8:23, and we're gonna just have the last question, and then we'll go on to closing statements and the webinar. And this question is going to go to Michelle. What should the legislature do to guarantee people's end-of-life care?
Okay, so when Catholic healthcare systems encroach on our medical care providers, as they gobble up more and more of our community hospitals, the religious restrictions do affect end-of-life care. So it does mean ensuring transparency in Catholic healthcare systems to make sure that they are letting public know whether they're following patient directives that include sedation at the end of life. Very important to a lot of folks. And of course, medical aid in dying has been a priority to many folks in our district, and I support it because I have heard really heartbreaking stories of folks who are independent-minded, want to make sure that their last wishes and their last moments are based on their own will, especially at end of life. Let's give people that dignity that ability to do that most independent of things. There are so many safeguards in place. Of course, it's been available in other states for a decade. So we're not forging new ground here, but it's the humanitarian thing to do. And it would help give comfort to folks as they reach their end of life. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Jim?
Well, we have, as you know, a healthcare proxy. I support that. I think they should have the opportunity to decide the care that is given to their loved ones. I had a brother named Joey, 15 years old, had Down syndrome, died of leukemia. I had a dad who worked in the foundry in the General Electric, the worst conditions you could ever work in. Red hot molten steel, asbestos. He died of stomach cancer. My mom died of a heart attack, and she had some very real heart problems. But all along the way, we did everything we possibly could as a family to care for them, to reduce any pain and concern they have. And I think the first priority is to save lives, to keep people alive when they want to be kept alive. And I think some of the decisions that have been made have to be made in consultation with the individual themselves and their proxies. But for the most part, I don't think we do enough to take care of the pain of individuals. I think when they're in very real pain, but they still support life and individuals have a concept, maybe it's a religious concern for them, we have to provide more experienced individuals, more individuals who care about reducing the pain rather than say, well, let's go to the point where we tell them, we're going to take all the pain away by taking your life away. That's a simple solution. The hard solution is to keep your loved one alive when they want to be kept alive, or talk to them seriously about individuals who could reduce that pain seriously so they're not in pain. But it's a very complex, it's a very sincere and important issue, and I understand both sides of it right now.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, it's time for our closing statement. Candidates, you have no more than 1 minute for your closing statements. And Jim, you're going to get to go first.
Okay, again, I want to thank the league and I want to thank Michelle. I especially want to thank you, the voters, for voting in me in overwhelming numbers again and again and giving me the honor to do the job I love so much, to be your senator and to help people. I'm asking you to continue to allow me to be your senator and to speak up strongly against an increasingly overbearing state government. I'm excited, as I have ever been, to get to work each day and fight for you. I have the agenda to help turn things around and the fortitude to help my oath of office, as I have done over the years, uphold it representing Saratoga County, Niskayuna, and the city of Schenectady, which I already have for many years. I've always said the most powerful voices in our representative democracy are not the government officials, but you, the voters, who give those of us in public service the honor and the privilege to serve. I do not, and rest assured, I never will take that for granted. On November 8th, I'd be honored to have your vote. Thank you. And thank you to the League of Women Voters.
Well, thank you. And now it's your turn, Michelle.
Thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum and to Jim for appearing. This is an important election. I see the future of Saratoga and Schenectady where we get the attention we deserve, because I'll use my strong voice and a seat at the table to fight for greater resources, career opportunities, housing options, affordable childcare, better support for our small businesses, and protect Joyce and the cornerstone of our democracy, our right to vote.